the pressure. Welcome back to a Celtic State of Mind. It's a strange old one because it's Saturday night. It's no Midfield at the back. It's 5 o'clock and we're half an hour away from kickoff. I'm Paul John Dykes. I'm delighted tonight to be joined by Anthony Maguire as well, all the way from Australia. I won't ask you what time of night it is that you've had to scrape yourself off the bed and come and join us, but I'm delighted that you have. There's loads to talk about, Anthony. I mean, even before we get into the starting 11 tonight, there's a boycott to discuss how that is going to affect or otherwise the players on the park. It's obviously already affected the action of the club. It's kind of sparked them into action. We'll talk about that. And Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, let's start off with that one then, because that's positive, right? That's a signing, and it happened and was announced today. What's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, fantastic bit of business. I mean, he's been training. So he's been training with Arsenal for the last so many months. So you're assuming we're getting somebody who's not too far away from being match fit. He's obviously had several discussions with Martin O'Neill and made the decision that it was the right fit for him in his part of his career, and also a fit for the club. Otherwise, Martin and Sean wouldn't sort of bring him in the first place. Also, don't think you can underestimate Joe Hart in all this. Obviously, a footballing colleague of the Ox, and we know Joe speaks very highly of his time with Celtic. So I think I've heard you discuss it on previous pods about having ambassadors for the club, and I really think when you have Joe Hart on European nights doing the commentary, he always talks very positively of his time with us. So, I think these little things do help and do help sort of sell the club. Obviously, we're hoping for more of an Aaron Moy type impact rather than an Aaron Ramsey type impact. But Celtic's free agency signings of the last 5 years or so have been pretty good. Aaron Moy, Joe Hart, Kasper Schmeichel to a certain extent. Go further back, Craig Gordon. I mean, he was I know there's also be goalkeepers, but we seem to have had a bit of a pedigree picking up players who, like I said, maybe at a bit of a crossroads of their career, but still have something to give. So they're not over the hill. They're not like MLS material where they're going off and just get a paycheck and check out sort of thing. They still want to take the football seriously. He's only 32. So yeah, he's had a hell of a horrible run with injuries, but an exciting bit of business. And, on a very controversial day with everything going on at the moment, that's definitely an upside and an uptick. And yeah, it will definitely strengthen the squad and give us experience going into this run of fixtures at the end of the season.
I agree with you. I'm all in on this one, and it was quite interesting, because of the way that things are going at the moment with the football club. I put out a harmless tweet, a positive tweet, because it's always nice to be positive in relation to the signing of the Ox, as we have christened him. I don't know if he was called that at other clubs. I'm sure he was. And someone said, yeah, but Martin O'Neill didn't sign him. Martin O'Neill doesn't pay his wages. People are doing some mental gymnastics to try and support the board here, right? I mean, see when Eric Cantona signed for Manchester United, who signed him? Was it Alex Ferguson or whoever was the CEO at the time? Come on. Right, I think we've got Sean coming in. Absolutely brilliant. There we go. How you doing, mate? It's early in the morning for you guys. You're both in the same time zones, aren't you? And
yes.
Fair play to you for coming up and getting involved in the pre-match. We're just talking there straight off the bat, Sean, a wee bit of positivity. New signing today. What's your thoughts on Oxlade-Chamberlain?
Yeah, that's it could go either way, I guess, right? It could be a Freddie Ljungberg, could be an Aaron Moy, could be anywhere in between.
I'd forgotten about Ljungberg. That's a good shout.
You're going back a bit there.
Well, look, that's just that, right? If someone comes up and they're just here for a jolly, it's going to go the way of Ljungberg or Carlton Cole or Colin Cousin-Richards. But then it might not. It might be a Moravchik or a Moy. They might actually be here and add some quality for some time. He might be here to try and earn a spot in our European squad for next season, because obviously he's not in the European squad for this season. There's no real question that he has ability, or at least has in the recent past. So I guess the question marks are around his desire, his fitness, and how much remuneration he's receiving in order to be here. He might be here doing like 2 days of training a week. Like I think it was Ian Wright was doing something like that when he played. He'd come up and train on a Wednesday, Thursday, playing Saturday, whatever. I can't remember, but it was. I remember it was a kind of part-time nature to it. I think. Does Casper Schmeichel still drive up? I'm not sure. But sometimes players are not fully here, and I hope that's not the case, because past talent, evidence of past talent is beyond question, but it's all the other things that are question marks. So hopefully he does contribute positively. And prior to Moy, I might have been more skeptical, but after having seen what Moy could contribute, I'm hoping that is what the Ox will contribute, and he'll be like our fourth choice midfielder, if you will, where he starts the odd game and certainly contributes from the bench and has a bit of class and composure.
This is the thing. I remember in Andy's second season, Moy keeping Matt O'Reilly out the team for spells, and I think that we needed that little bit of experience. Listening to all the Martin O'Neill comments that he made, we needed that little bit of experience, and I think I'm right behind that, and I think it's a positive thing. It's great to see so many of you tuning in on a Saturday night. Obviously there's lots of talk around the boycott at this particular game, and we are going to touch on that before getting stuck into the starting 11. Here's some of your thoughts coming through in the comments though. The Ox in the box, says Roscoe. We've also got John Mullane saying Ox interview just up on Celtic YouTube, seems like a great guy. And Matt Duffy comes in to say, great news about the Ox. Looking forward to seeing him play. So am I. In actual fact, Ewan Martin is coming as well. Hail, hail, troops. Delighted with Big Ox signing. And I think and hope he will be the difference in us winning the league. Ewan hasn't just boycotted the game. He's boycotted Scotland altogether. He's elsewhere at this moment in time, enjoying himself. No Maeda or Engels today. Wonder if just rested or something else. We're going to get onto the starting 11 in just a second. And we've got Solsland saying how Hatate makes this team is absolutely baffling. Right, so let's bring in the team. We'll have a wee look at that, see what you think. It is a different start 11, and that's something that Martin O'Neill spoke about. This is how it looks. What's your first impressions, Anthony?
Well, I mean, obviously, he did mention during the week that he was trying to make some changes. So that was, you're thinking, is that bringing in our new signings? I'm glad that Chivinchara is still leading the line, because he still needs minutes to get up to speed and really establish himself as that main sort of centre forward. Obviously, a debut for Joe Mavuka. And then, obviously, Bernardo's come in. And yeah, and I, as the comment said, there's a few players missing altogether. No Engels, no Maeda, no Balikwisha, no Schmeichel. But yeah, like I said, it's the back four's the same, so solid there. Obviously, Sinisalo and goals. Yeah, and I know people are obviously hanging Hatate out here, but you've got to play guys back into form. Like, we're going to need him at some point this season. So this is an opportunity to give him some minutes and see if he can, find some of that form that has probably eluded him for large parts of this season. But yeah, like I said, I have no issues with that team. It's more than good enough to beat Dundee. But yeah, like I said, it's just the only issue with making so many changes is just that initial settling in period. How long will it take us to play the free flowing football that we like to play?
Yeah, this. I'm not that concerned about Maeda not being in the side, or Engels. And I've got no concerns about Hatate being in the side. And the reason for this is, Sean, that when you look at the Europa League selection in terms of who's in and who's out, that gives you an idea in Martin O'Neill's mind as to who is going to be playing a lot of the games between now and the end of the season. Balikwisha's left out of that squad, so he's not in the plans as far as Martin O'Neill's concerned. Hatate's in the squad, therefore he will be playing games between now and the end of the season. Maeda is in the squad, so I don't really have any concerns about a couple of the guys dropping out. And I am always excited to see some of the new guys coming in, and that's obviously why this little graphic has been made up, because Mvuka starts. What do you make of the start 11, Sean?
Yeah, almost. If I didn't have this very piece of expensive electronic equipment in front of me, I might have done a spit take there when Anthony mentioned Balikwisha not being in the squad. That was very much tongue-in-cheek. But yeah, I think obviously it was aforementioned that there would be changes, there would be rotation. you could consider it slightly disrespectful to Dundee. It might be that it's a reflection of where this competition stands in the 3 competitions we have left. Maybe you would have seen even more rotation if the midweek game hadn't been postponed. So I think Bernardo being in there really is the clearest indication of where we're aiming at here. We're not doing a Auchinleck style rotation, but we are rotating. We are recognizing that we've got Stuttgart away this month, and then we've got trips to Ibrox and Pataudry at the start of next month as well. So I think it's planning for the next 4 weeks as much as anything. And I was calling last week for Bernardo to get a chance. I thought he'd done well coming off the bench in the previous game. So it's good. Hopefully it's good. And we'll get to see some of the new guys straight away. I see Adam is on the bench as well. So he was one of the 3 that was included in the European squad. So I'm looking forward to seeing a bit of him today as well, hopefully.
Yeah, this is it. You're always looking forward to some of the new guys coming in. But you mentioned Paulo Bernardo there. And he's a player that divides opinion, Anthony. He's a player that we've discussed quite a bit on Acsom. My take on Bernardo is I wanted to sign him permanently after his loan spell. I thought he looked like an exciting player with loads of potential. Everybody goes on about him being under 21 captain for Portugal. Comes in, doesn't kick on. Hasn't played a great deal of games. Where are we with Bernardo? Does he have a future at Celtic? Is he a player that we can keep? Is he a guy that I think would be useful as a squad player? Or have we simply not seen the progress we would have liked from him?
It's a tough one. It's a bit of the curious case of Paulo Bernardo. I mean, he's had 3 managers now that have sort of passed him over, really, this season. I definitely think there's a player there. I mean, like you say, you don't become the under 21 captain of Portugal without some talent. But yeah, his development seems to have stalled. He's another one of these players who clearly needs minutes to develop, but I don't know whether he's not showing it on the training park or it's his attitude or, where the issue lies. I think he usually does fairly well when he is playing. I like him. I think he gives a bit of physicality to our midfield that we sometimes sorely lack. I still remember that goal that he contributed it was in his loan spell to win it. We'll get us through the league, stretched up, I think it was, Ned. But anyway, I definitely think there's a player there. But yeah, it's just a funny one, and I think he'll pick up minutes through the rest of the season. Obviously, now that the Ox is coming in, maybe not as many minutes as he would have been getting otherwise. So again, it comes back to competition for places. So he's gonna have to lift his game if he's going to expect to get any minutes. Otherwise, he'll be doing sort of cameos like this for cup games and whatnot. I think the other thing just to mention is that Marcelo Sarachi is also on the bench as well, which is a good sign that he's back from injury, and then that gives us the cover at left back and puts a bit of pressure on Tierney to keep performing as well. So we're starting to get a bit of depth back all around the squad, which is exactly what you want. Because the slog of fixtures we've got coming up, we're going to need it.
Yeah, absolutely. Where are you with Bernardo, Sean? Is he a handy player to have in the squad? Can you see some kind of a progress under Martin O'Neill, perhaps, where he stayed at the football club and he starts to, show us some of the potential that we thought he had?
That's what I want to see. He's just over 2 years removed from having a man of the match performance in a derby win at New Year, so he's delivered for us in the past, not just for Portugal under 21s. He's delivered for Celtic. So I was surprised at points this season to see him as the 6th choice centre mid. We're assuming Oxlade-Chamberlain's going to be a centre mid as well, so I guess he's potentially 7th choice at the moment. It could be a big one for him today, to be honest. And even if today is his biggest contribution for the rest of the season, as long as he contributes, then that's it's a squad game. We're competing for places. Anthony mentioned Sarachi coming back there, and one that surprised me to be missing from the bench as well is Iheanacho. Mm-hmm. So he's obviously came on as a sub in the last 2 games and was looking to be struggling for fitness, but looked like he needed minutes to get fitness, and now he's getting no minutes today. So, but I guess he is one that is eligible for. But then so is Adamu and Van Chara are both eligible. So we've now got the three of them in the European squad. So it's a weird one actually. Nacho's missing it entirely. I wonder that he's maybe had a setback.
I hope not, because he's one of the guys that when fit, I just think he adds that element of quality. He's very good at dropping deep, holding the ball up, bringing the wingers into play. Sinisalo takes over from Kasper Schmeichel. Schmeichel seems a lot happier, Anthony, under Mark O'Neill, doesn't he? I don't know what went wrong with Schmeichel, but not that long ago, a lot of people coming into the comments were saying his time's up, drop on, bring Sinisalo, and some even wanted a new goalie the January transfer window. But I think he's come back into form. He's obviously being rested tonight. Sinisalo comes in. Has he impressed you? Now, I know that his performances have been pretty sporadic, his appearances rather, pretty sporadic. And then he had that opportunity at the end of last season, but he was dropped as soon as Schmeichel comes back into fitness and he misses out in the Scottish Cup. Where are we with Sinisalo? I mean, we're looking for a goalie in the summer, I'm sure, for Schmeichel. Is Sinisalo going to be the number one? Is he perennially going to Scott Bain it?
It's a good question. I mean, he's young enough. He's young for a goalkeeper, so I mean, you've got to take that into consideration. But his last performance against Oxlade-Chamberlain, he flapped a couple of crosses, and it was really the only thing he had to deal with that entire match. And it just kind of, when you see moments like that, you're thinking a young keeper should be coming out to command box. He's athletic enough. He's got a good reach. So for me, that sort of sticks in the mind recently. You're right. He's not going to get many performances between now and the end of the season. This might be one of his, obviously, assuming Kasper Schmeichel's going to remain fit and firing for the rest of the season. But yeah, at one point I was starting to think, is Kasper over the hill and he's done sort of thing. But I think that also coincided with the Wilfried Nancy reign and basically playing with one at the back. So I think any keeper's going to look a little bit exposed and suspect when there's only one defender stopping the attackers from coming through. So immediately when you go back to actual proper back four, he's looked a bit better, and he's made the saves that he's needed to make at critical moments at nothing each. So that's, for me, that's when a keeper needs to make the saves, when the game is in the balance. Nothing each, you're 1-0 up. They're the times where you really need your keeper to stand up, and Kasper's really done that. I still think we'll be looking for another keeper at the end of the season. I mean, I think Sinisalo is a great backup, and maybe in time becomes your number one. I mean, he's number one for the Finnish team, I think. So I mean, yeah, he's clearly got the ability, but is he a Celtic number one? Because it's all about not switching off. It's those key moments. And for me, a young keeper, I just don't know at the moment. I haven't seen enough to suggest that he fits that mould.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. I mean, he's one of the guys, I think last season, Lawrence Conley and I were talking about the fact that he should have stayed in the team, should have had the Scottish Cup winners medal under his belt, but he doesn't. And it's just fine margins. Talking of margins, there's obviously quite a few players, fans rather, deciding to take part in the boycott. Here's some pictures that have been sent through from various contacts. One of them is not on the board. I know that's pretty close to the board director's box, but it's certainly not a board member sending me pictures. These are coming through in the WhatsApp. It looks, Sean, despite a lot of the vociferous nature, I think, of the pro boards element on social media, it seems as though when you look at images like that, and we're only 10 minutes away from kickoff, that a lot of fans have decided not to go today.
Yeah, well, look, that's not that unusual for a game in the winter. For a person who every time I go over to Scotland in December, cannot get a ticket for a game, but then have to sit and look at the tens of thousands of empty seats, and it's not that unusual. But yes, obviously there was a call for a boycott today, and it would be slightly more unusual in the sense that this is not a season ticket game. This is a game that people have had to reach into their pockets and pay for. Fair enough. Probably a lot of people are on the ticket scheme where automatically it comes off. But at the same time, that when they called for the boycott, I was like, yes, this is the correct principle of action to take. And that even though we've signed, 5 loan players, and Our second post-window signing of the season. The second time we're scrambling for a desperate veteran after the close of the window. Other than, like, where do you think that was a good window or not? And most people don't. I think it was a good idea to make it known that we're still unhappy. We've still not seen the change we want to see. I think the timing was poor, though. I think to call for a boycott of a cup game when most people have already purchased a ticket for a one-off game, it was poor timing. I think calling for it before those tickets went on sale would have been a much smarter move, or even calling for a league game or such. So yeah, I think right principle, poor timing, and we'll see. We'll find out pretty soon if how much Celtic fans have picked it up. But I wonder what the attendance would have been even without this call for a boycott, to be honest.
I think that's an interesting thing. We were actually talking about it before you jumped in, Sean. Anthony and I were talking about, back in the day where if you were drawn at home in the League Cup, for example, I'm just having a wee look at the game as well. Charlie Mulgrew doing the pre-match, and it is pretty empty. And that is because of the first time fans have called a boycott since the early 90s. But we were talking about how, the early rounds of a League Cup, for example, would be pretty empty. You go back to the Morton game. Remember, they beat us 1-0 after extra time, and the place was empty. There was a game against Alloa Athletic. And it was about, under those circumstances, the club had nothing in place actually to circumvent that situation and call on groups of fans who would be able to come along to the game. So the club have nothing up their sleeve. I remember in relation to a game we played one time, I think it was the time against Liverpool where it was James Milner was involved, and maybe, was it Petrov and Milner? There was two players, and it was a charity game, one of these charity games in the pre-season. And the club at that time, when they used to contact fan media, were contacting fan media for ideas to shift tickets because no one was buying the tickets up, and they were flapping saying, "Oh, we need to get people in. We don't want Klopp walking out the tunnel to an empty Celtic Park." That was verbatim what they were saying on the phone. But the club have never had anything in place, Anthony, to challenge a situation like this. So it's there for all to see, the empty seats.
Yeah, look, it's a sad situation. I mean, it's sad all around, the fact that, with the fans collectors had to call for a boycott, but you can see the reaction from the club in response. Brian Wilson's come out, started saying, "Oh, we're starting to talk to the Green Brigade," and things like that. So these are, unfortunately, the steps that you have to take to see the change that you want to see happen. Obviously, they're still, trying to divide the support. They're not dealing with the collective directly. They're trying to deal with individual groups. Again, Michael Nicholson, dead silent, hasn't been seen, hasn't been heard. And all this comes back to a lack of communication, John Paul. This is the issue. It all comes back to a lack of communication. If there was a clear line of communication between the club and the fans, a lot of this stuff could have been either nipped on the bud, sorted out ages ago, but it's been allowed to sit and fester and just drag on, indefinite bans, banning fan media. I call him the CIO, the Chief Ineffective Officer, just basically sits in his office and collects his, close to £1 million a year. He needs to go. And if he is going to go at the end of the season, if that's the rumor, then come out and just say it now and just help diffuse the situation, help us move on so we can support Martin and the team. Because that's all we want to do. Everyone's saying in the comments how hard it is to not be there today. But you have to send a clear statement out to say that this is unacceptable. And we want the best for Celtic. We want the best version of Celtic as a club. And at the moment, we're not getting it. And this is what we will do, because Celtic without the fans, there is no Celtic.
This is the thing, right? People going about, you win all these trophies, etc. Well, I think in itself that shows that it's not about winning trophies. It's about other aspects of the football club not operating correctly. And we've discussed them for years now on a Celtic state of mind. And you look at the statement that was made, quite rightly, Anthony says there, Sean, it wasn't by the CEO, it was by the interim chairman. And you're right again, Anthony, they have not they have not been in touch with anybody in fan media to say, A, that you've been banned in the first place, but also B, let's talk. They've not been in touch with anyone. Sean. So the communication's still an issue, big time. Yeah, they're going to individual groups to speak to them. Is it a divide and conquer approach and tactic? Probably. But I'll tell you something, the boycott already had an impact because it forced someone from the club to come out and make this statement on Celtic TV, Sean. So already the boycott has been effective, hasn't it?
Well, I wouldn't say it's been effective yet, but it's been impactful. So like we'll find out the effect soon enough if there is in fact one. But it certainly seems like it might be effective. Communication, as Anthony mentioned, is obviously huge. When I still laugh when I hear that story about Michael Nicholson having the whiteboards with communicate with fans written on it, and then I'm doing my John Travolta, like looking around the room, like where's this communication that you're apparently like? Does he just like is his seat not facing the whiteboard? Like he just can't see his own post-it note. I like they were
sorry to butt in.
Yeah,
can you believe that they're actually bringing on the Ox at a virtually empty Celtic Park?
Number
sorry
21.
to butt in there, mate, because I'm looking at this thinking, right, well, surely you want them to have a proper welcome to Celtic Park, and you're putting them out there when there's maybe 15,000 in the stadium. I think that
talk about disrespecting his parentage as well. He's only getting Chamberlain on the back of his jersey. We used to have the whole vinegar of Hessling. Now he's just getting Chamberlain. And I seen that the social media post was just Alex as well. So one of his parents is getting a hard one today.
That you're right, but I just feel, Sean, it's just a simple thing, right? It's a simple thing. You want a new player who, obviously, there's this whole attitude about players coming up from down south, particularly from big clubs. He's played with big clubs down in England, and they're coming up, and a lot of people, Jamie O'Hara's a typical example, who look down their nose at Scottish football. You basically want to give them the best welcome possible. Tonight's not that night. There's a boycott underway, and we bring on the new signing. I just think it's just a bad decision, one of many poor decisions.
Who was the one was the one last year we like brought on at halftime? Someone that didn't work out. I can't remember, but there's been ones in the past where we've paraded them at games and it's not exactly worked out in a sterling manner. Obviously, Rangers 2012 have been putting players out in a similar manner at recent games. So, yeah, I think it's kind of celebrating, taking a victory lap before the race has actually been run. So that's maybe something they should keep their powder dry on in many senses. I put it in our group chat earlier, Paul. I was reminded when I was doing a sanitizing of my social media earlier ahead of applying for United States visas of one of the Michael Nicholson decisions from 14 months ago, which was to sell virtual pieces of the turf at Paradise for £50 for 3 years of virtual ownership of a part of the Paradise turf. And by coincidence, while I was looking this up again, taking a trip down memory lane, it seems you can't even access your piece of virtual turf anymore. The website's down. It's no longer exists. So some people got shafted on that one as well. Well done, Michael.
That went down like a lead balloon at the time. I do remember the Celtic team are in the tunnel ready to go out. They're playing Dundee tonight, obviously. And I haven't brought up the team yet, the Dundee team that is. Here it is. McCracken, Ashley, Wright, Murray, Halliday, Yogain, Congreve, Danda, Graham, Cotterill and Hamilton make up the starting 11 for Dundee. So we're going to be going to the action in just a second. Cal McGregor, as always, leading the team out. I'm a big fan of Araujo. And he's good even when he's doing the pressers. I think he's very, very good. We've got some new talent on display today as well. So I'm looking forward to it. Everybody who's at the game. Again, there's not an issue with anybody going to the game. It's not as though there's going to be any aggression or any comments made about someone breaking the boycott. It's an individual choice. And we had someone from the fans collective last week talking about it. I'm up for this. I'm delighted. I'm going to get a couple of predictions from you guys. Sorry, Anthony. What's your prediction for the game?
3-0 Celtic.
Celtic. We're under the lights, the disco lights, Sean. And are we going to get a resounding victory tonight? What do you think?
I don't think it'll be resounding, no, but I'm going to go with 2-1. I think we'll be 2-0 up. We'll probably get pegged back because it's a cup game. Dundee will be coming at us, but I think we'll probably get comfortable and then try and manage it out, and there'll be some scrappiness.
Well, I'm going to be confident tonight, and I can't remember if I've ever done this, but I'm going to go 4-0 Celtic this evening, gents. 4-0 Celtic. I just think there's an enthusiasm about the place with the new bodies coming in, and Saturday night at Celtic Park. Where else would you rather be, gentlemen? Thank you very much. You are dialing in from Perth in Australia. It's the middle of the night for you guys. It's 5:30 here in Scotland. So let's go and join the action. Join us at half time. Enjoy the first half, and join us at half time on a Celtic State of Mind.